In real estate, the process is guided by two equally important forces: the clients pursuing their dream and the agents working to make those dreams a reality. Every transaction has a chronicle. These are their stories.
Hey everyone, thank you for tuning in. This is episode 2 of Realty and Reality Unfiltered. We are going to be talking about real estate here in Georgia, stuff that you do not hear about because, it ain't pretty, but it gets the job done. So I am your host, Angela All, and I have a special guest with me today, Joanna Miles. She is a realtor that does an amazing job. She's also a team member of mine, and I'm going to let us talk to her and see what kind of stories she has for us today, because I'm sure you're going to want to sit down on this one. You might need to have a little wine and just take a little breath in between, because this one's going to be serious. Joanna, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I am a realtor in Georgia, and I'm on Angela's team, and she's fabulous. Oh my gosh, you need a realtor. She's number 1 in Georgia.
And she's number 2.
I'm number 2. I was going to say that, yes. So I have been doing real estate for 5 years. I was a teacher for 15, teaching math, and then I said, oh no, after COVID, we're done. So I am now in real estate full time and have loved it, and it's a passion. So, because there's all kinds of numbers in real estate.
That is definitely true. And there's a lot to deal with. Like you deal with the kids in the classroom, you're going to have some stuff to deal with. You got to take that has to parlay into real estate sometimes, how you can wrangle the kids in school. I'm sure she's had to do that a few times with some clients.
Because it's their parents.
Right. Right. She's not dealing with the kids anymore. Now she's dealing with the parents.
Right.
So
all the same.
Same energy.
Yeah.
But today we are going to talk about something that everybody, unless you're paying cash, and sometimes if you're paying cash, has to deal with. And that is the appraisal. So today's episode is what happens when the appraisal came in low. Joanna has a story for us, and I can't wait for us to hear it. So tell us about the property and the offer that was accepted, like to give us some backstory.
So this was a very exciting deal for me, actually. So I got it as a referral from a friend who she decided not to do real estate anymore.
Okay.
And so I was like, okay, let's do it. The family didn't speak English very well. And so they had their son who did speak English. So he and I actually went and looked at,
Right, okay.
But we went and looked at properties first. Mm-hmm. And then we brought the dad in because the mom spoke no English. And that'll come into play later. But they were so sweet. Like it was a pleasure to go see all the houses. And we found this one that they absolutely loved. Like the dad was walking different. He's walking up the steps. He's like, oh, this is it. It had, and I have to let you know how this house looked, like, because that's going to make a difference with the appraisal.
I'm sure.
But we pull into the subdivision. It's in a cul-de-sac. Oh, it's so gorgeous. It's all brick all the way around. When you walk in, it had like a entryway, and the lady had it decorated so beautiful. Huge garage, side garage. And then when you walk in, it was open area, nice kitchen and living room. And then it had a screened in porch on the back with the fireplace. And the yard was just immaculate.
So it's updated. It's looking great. Of course, at that point, you're looking at all these great things. The appraisal is probably the absolute last thing. Like you're already thinking about what kind of closing gift you're going to get them. Appraisal was not even in the sphere of understanding or realization that was going to be an issue. Everything was good. That was
No, and really, as a buyer's agent, we go in, if we know the neighborhood, we know exactly about what the houses are going to appraise for.
Because we're going to do our research before we go look at the houses, before we do any of that. We're doing research before we send it over to our clients. We're looking at the comps, and because if it doesn't match, and then when we get there, it looks different or something like that, we already know, okay, in the back of our mind, this may be something we have to keep a pin on for later on.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the case for this one.
Well, so I did that. And before we got there, we already had in mind, we weren't going to offer what they were asking. And we did it. So we got like $10,000 off. I negotiated that, got them some closing costs, whatever. And so we were at like $545.
Okay.
Because you got to remember that number. Okay. $545.
$545.
And it was a great house. Okay. So we went through everything. We went under contract. The other agent was amazing. She'd been doing it for a long time.
Okay.
So she also, I felt like she knew what was going on in that area.
Right.
And so we went on as usual. Now let's back up for a second. Because I know your last episode was something about a lender, right?
Yeah,
And that is so important. And I tried my very best to get my clients to realize these big banks aren't always the best choice. And I'm not going to name the name.
We are not naming names. We are not going to discuss who it was. Do not DM us because we're not going to tell you.
No. But it was big.
But it was a big bank.
Okay. And they went right ahead with it. They thought they were getting the best interest rate, whatever. With those big banks, the problem is they don't talk to you.
Right.
They see you as a problem and not as someone who's going to help us get to the closing table. So they give you no information. Everything's through a portal. And these poor people, they didn't know anything about a portal.
They weren't, the English wasn't their first language.
No.
So all of that I'm sure all of that had something to do with it.
It played into it. And their son, of course, couldn't be part of it either.
Right.
Because he wasn't on the loan.
He wasn't on the loan. So he wasn't privy to all the information. He was just trying to translate information, and they don't understand. They don't even know what to get him to translate at that point.
Right.
All right.
So, and then of course they take forever. So you have a certain amount of time that you've got for financial contingency.
Exactly. Right.
And the appraisal contingency, we're conventional.
Okay.
And so we had all of those dates we had to think about, and they were taking their precious time. Okay. Yes.
All right. So what happened when the appraisal came in?
Okay, well, let's go back. So we're with the big bank, and they sent the appraisal over a weekend, like on a Friday afternoon, to the buyer. Well, the buyer doesn't know. They don't know anything that's going on. So we had no idea they even had the appraisal. So I'm calling this bank like over and over.
Like,
how can I get
the appraisal? Right.
No, she has to go in. So I had to talk them through how to get this appraisal to me. So give me a number or something.
Right. Even the bank wouldn't even give you the
No.
Okay, yes. Boys and girls, the lender should be able to at least give you the number. It's already given to the appraiser. It's already given to the buyer. They know that you are representing them. You are on the actual contract as the representation, and they should be able, the lender, or at least the contact for the lender, should be able to give you a number. Or they can walk the buyer through how to share the appraisal. Right. But of course, they would not.
No, they
Please
didn't.
continue.
Okay, so I finally get the number. You're not going to believe this.
Okay, so we were at 545. 545. Okay.
The appraisal was 490. 490. And so we get this appraisal.
Wait, what?
Yes. So I get this appraisal and I'm looking at it. And then, of course, I had to bring in the listing agent because how is this so low?
Right. That's a humongous, you're not talking about 5,000, 10,000. That is a humongous difference.
So I'm thinking, oh my goodness, because the buyers, the sellers could not come down to 490.
No.
And we already asked 10,000 off, and we're at 545. That's a huge gap. So
oh my God,
we were sick, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So
okay. So well, how did the buyer and the seller, like, what was their initial reaction for that? Like when you got the numbers and you finally got into the report, because that took forever. But when you finally got into there, like, what was their reaction?
Well, as much as I had explained to the buyers what was going on, they really still didn't understand.
Okay.
So for them, they were just sitting waiting on me to do my job.
Right. Okay.
Are we buying a house? That's all they care.
Right.
I want this house. The sellers, on the other hand, they just were
shocked.
Yes.
Like you.
Right. And so, they couldn't do it.
Right.
So then, and they're devastated because they're wanting to buy a house. They've got kids. They're moving out. You know, it's their teachers. It's school season.
Right.
And so at that point, the listing agent and I became one. And we are going to figure this out.
Exactly. And that is what is supposed to happen. So if something like this happens, because, I mean, appraisals do come in low. That's a big drop. That's a big difference. They usually don't come in that low, but it's not unheard of that an appraisal comes in low. What can really wreck a situation is when the selling agent and the buying agent aren't communicating. They aren't working together to try to get the job done. You are trying to make it work for both parties. I get that. But the fact of the matter is that appraisals, depending on what kind of financing you're using, if it's FHA or conventional, if it's conventional, it doesn't stick with the home. But if it's with FHA, that appraisal sticks with the property for 6 months.
Yes.
6 months. So that means no one else can come in with FHA and buy the home for more than the appraised value. So that is why it is so important, because you can still dispute an appraisal. You can do that, and we're going to talk about that. But you can do all those things, but that's only when both parties are working for the interest of their clients.
Yes, and that's exactly what we did.
Exactly.
So what we did was we went back to the appraisal
Mhm.
and we looked to see what are the comps, what's going on. Some of the pictures were not even of the house. The listing agent is like, the appraiser never went inside the house.
What?
They did a drive-by. They did a drive-by.
On a $500,000 property?
Yes. So I went back to the bank. Well, didn't want to talk to me. And I said, are you working for the clients because you are trying to wreck a deal? And I said, you will have to get someone out there to actually do an appraisal that is.
So that means they did a drive-by. They didn't see the backyard.
No.
They didn't see that all the upgrades inside. None of that.
No, because they never went in. Right. Yes. And
Banks. Uh-huh. Yeah.
Right.
Banks.
They didn't care. They did not care that this is what happened. And so I had to forcefully say, you have to fix this or we're not closing. Like, you could stop the deal right now. So they sent somebody back out.
Right. Okay.
Did it the right way.
Mhm.
Sent in the right appraisal. And guess what it appraised for? $545.
So, moral of the story. Well, we'll get to the moral of the story. Seriously, I mean, you cannot do a drive-by on a home. Well, first off, you shouldn't do a drive-by on a home for any amount of money. I mean, an appraiser should be going into the house because you can look at comps. So, like, just like when we're doing our offers, when we're doing CMAs for sellers, we look at comps because we're looking at things that are recently sold, usually within the last year, that are close by, usually within a certain radius, that are similar in size and age and composition, things like that. So that's how we do our CMAs. However, an appraiser, that you can't just do that. You have to actually go in and establish value because that is a loan attached to it. That is a person's dream of buying a home attached to it. So you can't just simply say, I'm gonna ride by and look and see. It kind of looks like what I think, but you don't know what's inside that house. You don't know what kind of upgrades they put in. You don't know if there's an extra bedroom or bathroom that they have finished out, like the screen porch, like all these updates that they've done to the kitchen. Like, unless you go into the house, those things are unknown to you. You're only guessing. So a 490, you see the difference between a drive-by and getting a 490 appraised value and an actual go and look at the home and see that it is a superior comp to the other things that are recently sold, and then you get a 545 value.
But also with that was, where are you getting comps that even the outside was going to make it at 490? And so that was our problem also. So we gathered all of the comps that she had done a great job with, put those together, and then sent that over to the appraiser. And then at that point, it just made sense. Like, now, if you're going to do a drive-by, you're still going to get a little bit closer.
At least a little. If you're going to if you're going to do a drive-by, then maybe do a little bit more in-depth background, like on the numbers and things like that. Not just a aerial view of what the comps look like. If you're going to do a drive-by, do more of the legwork in the background.
I don't know where he might have been doing two proproperties at the same time or something. I don't know.
He switched them? No.
Yes.
Okay, so what strategies did you use to keep the deal together? So I know you and the other agent worked together to make it work, but like, other than getting the appraiser out there, like, how did you keep everybody as calm and as on track as possible? Because that basically stops it. Like, you can't do anything else until that is resolved. Like, how did you and the listing agent, how did y'all make sure that you kept everything on track to get everything where it needed to be once that was resolved?
So it is very important that you choose the right real estate agent, period. Whether you're selling your house or you're buying a house. Absolutely. Because it can go very wrong at this point, because it could have just stopped there. So the thing was that I was blessed with is that the listing agent had a very good relationship with her clients. Good. I had a good relationship with mine. And so they were okay. I mean, they had anxiety, but they were okay sitting on the sidelines, waiting for us to do what we do.
Because they trust you.
Us.
Because they trust you. Yeah, that was established early on. So they were comfortable. They knew that you both had their best interests at heart. They knew that at the end of the day, if it fell through or if it went through, that their agents had done the very best job that they could have done.
Yes, and they did. And so I feel like at that point, because it's hard when you don't have that relationship and they're fussing at you and you're at the bank and then you're talking to the listing agent. And it's hard to keep it together. But they were they trusted us.
Good.
So then that's why you want to choose the right lender, because at that point, that communication could have been better.
Oh, yeah.
So that would have been a little bit more smoother. But then with the listing agent, as soon as we figured this out, it was communication with she and I.
Mm-hmm.
I'm communicating with the bank. So on that side, the two of us trusted each other.
Right.
And they knew our final goal was not to get anybody. I'm not trying to buy a house for $490. I understand the process.
Exactly.
Right. We're trying to get to the closing table and get it as close to 545 as possible.
Right.
I mean, we could hope for...
It could have been, they could have came back and said 535. And that may have been more appeasing and palatable to the seller. So the situation, I mean, luckily it came back at 545, which is what the contract was, but sometimes it doesn't. But it may come back where the number is something that everybody can agree on to still move forward. But a $55,000 difference ain't it. So luckily this one came back at the contract value. But even if it did not, the fact of the matter is, because your clients trusted you, you all trusted each other, you knew that as long as there was some type of increase, as long as it was reasonable increase, then the deal may have been able to move on either way.
And that's what we were hoping for.
Right.
I mean, we didn't know what it was gonna, but we had to be closer to 545.
Exactly.
Period.
Exactly.
So at that point, it was, and it was stressful.
Of course.
For us.
Of course.
But that is the strategies that we worked. It's all about building relationships. We built that in the beginning so that when we got to the hard part, it wasn't so difficult.
Absolutely. I mean, you all had, even from the showing, from the moment that you connected with the listing agent, there was a good rapport, there was a good relationship throughout the transaction, the inspection. Like all of those points build trust and build a relationship so that when hiccups do come, you have some standard by which to go by. And that goes from the listing agent to the selling agent, from the bank to the both agents. I mean, the bank is not really going to talk to the listing agent because that's not who they represent. But at least then they'll know that you're communicating. So there's a circle of trust, there's a circle of communication, and it works better for all parties. Now, knowing that this situation, you all got to closing.
Oh, we did.
They
loved the house and stuff. And they were so cute on that porch when I took a picture.
Aww.
And I still talk to them. I talk to the son. I still see what he's doing. He's got a new job, whatever.
Aww.
So making sure he's okay. But that was just so good. It was good.
See, and like I said, one of the things about this show is I want to make sure that people know that these situations closed. So these are deals that closed, because there are times when it will not. Like that could have been, like everybody could have dug their heels in the sand and said, no, we are not budging. We are not doing this. We are not doing that. You could have said something like, well, your clients need to come down to $490. I'm not making my clients pay more. So, I mean, because there are situations where agents will do that.
Can I tell you about one?
Yeah.
I mean, we might as well put it out there. You already said it. But this happened to a seller like last month. And they did the appraisal. And when I tell you, this house has everything. It's been updated compared to the properties in the area. I did the comps.
Right.
It never should have been a low appraisal. And when the appraiser came in, he met with the seller was there.
Okay.
Right. But he went through the property. It has all these extra things is what I'm trying to tell you. And the appraisal came back at like 30 or 40,000 lower than what they had it listed for.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. And so at that point, instead of the listing agent going, and it's FHA, so it stays with the property.
Stays there for 6 months, right?
So instead of going and fighting it and putting in the comps and disputing what the appraisal was, the buyer's agent and the listing agent just let it go and assumed that the seller was going to go ahead and move forward with this contract at $30,000 lower than what he had. That was not even the value of the property. And they just let it go and killed the deal.
All of that time was wasted. All of that money, all of that time is wasted when all they had to do was put in a little effort to try to get it done. That's what we're saying. It is important who you work with. It is absolutely important. You want someone that is going to go to bat for you as if it was their own. Because at the end of the day, you become family, you become friends. So you want someone who's going to go after it for you. And now, if it ends up being a bad deal, you also want someone who's going to tell you, yeah, this is a bad deal. We need to walk away. But if this is a good deal and there was a mistake or there was an error or there was something that needs to be fixed, you want someone who's going to go in and fix it. And if you don't have someone that's doing that, then you might want to let them go and find someone who will.
Right.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, y'all got to know, appraisers there's no way out of it.
Right.
We don't choose the appraiser.
Nope.
The buyer doesn't choose them. The seller doesn't choose them. The lender doesn't choose them. They are just,
it's
just
a round robin. Yeah.
Right. And so at that, and they're the value of the house.
Mm-hmm.
So they are
the number gods at the end of the day, because they are the one that determines if the contract price that you all wrote on is what the loan is going to be for, because a lender is not going to lend on a property for more than what the appraised value is. So let's just say it's a $400,000 house. The appraisal comes in at $390,000. Either you're going to come up with the other 10 or as a buyer, or the seller has to come down to $390,000. They're not going to lend that $400,000 because the appraisal says that it's worth $390,000. So that's one of the things that we want, buyers and sellers to understand about appraisals is it is important. It is important that you know what you're talking about. Your agent knows what they're talking about when you have a listing agent that's coming over to prep your property, okay, before it goes on the market. You want someone that's going to walk you through what the CMAs say, what the numbers look like, how your home compares to those recent sales, because all that is going to ultimately factor into what the appraised value is. You want someone who is going to make sure that when the appraisal calls to schedule the appointment, that you are sweet as honey. Yeah. Hi, how are you? Yes. Nice to meet you. Yes. Tomorrow at 5 p.m. works absolutely fine. Sure. Would you like the comps? Would you like some additional information? Would you like the disclosures? You have to be sugar, honey, sweet. But the fact of the matter is you're doing that to make sure that you don't tick them off, and that they come in with a good vibe already when they get ready to evaluate your property. So those are things on the seller's side that you want. And for the buyer's agent, you want someone who is going to run the numbers before you make an offer so that everyone knows that we are in the same realm. Because people will overprice their home, of course. They do. They overprice their home. Right. But when you send over a contract, you don't necessarily want to necessarily go at that higher rate, because then you are almost wishing for an appraisal issue later on. You are. So you want someone who is going to be real on the numbers, who can, articulate why the offer number is what it is. So making sure you have the right team in the beginning, and that you have someone who the agents can work together as a team, and the lending. Again, episode 2, talking about making sure that you have the lending right. They are essential. The appraisers, the lenders, the realtors, all of us are essential when it comes to making deals work. You just have to make sure that you are picking the right people to sit on the bus. Mm-hmm. You have to vet your people. Word of mouth is important. So is looking them up. I mean, you can go to Redfin, Homes.com, Zillow. You can go to all these places and look at your agent's history, their sale history, and you can look at their reviews and see, and then word of mouth, things like that. Like, there's so much that you can do to make sure that you have the right agents and the right lender, the right inspector. There's just so many things that you can do now in the age of technology to research and make sure you have the right people on your bus.
But you cannot get the appraiser you want.
Yes. We would love that. We would love that. Lender matters. Agents matter. It all matters. Yes. So thank you, Miss Joanna, for coming over and giving us this story. Look, we're going to make sure that we're going to try our best to make sure that this is not a story that we have very much. Because no one wants to deal with that. No. That is definitely stressful. We don't want it to happen to you, but if it does, we want to make sure that you have the right team to get it done. So thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. Joanna is on socials as well, so find her and follow her as well. But thank you all for checking in. We will see you next time. Bye.